Live. Morning, Rob.
Hey, morning.
I want to apologize for not being here on Friday. We're just doing a lot of tweaking in the studio here, working to get everything working. Um, Not only that, it's flooding like crazy. I guess we're having a cyclone or whatever they want to call it. But
Yeah, it's really bad out there.
it tore up Sacramento and San Francisco from what I heard. Businesses were flooded.
Yeah.
Power was out.
Yeah.
All of that.
I got a haircut up the road, right here in West Hollywood.
Ah, you got a haircut.
And
I didn't even notice.
that's one of the barbers. Overheard him talking about how the media over exaggerated exactly what was going on. I guess right now the media is making it seem like there's huge, massive flooding over there in Sacramento. He's like, no, we just got drenched in rain for hours. But yeah, it's terrible. So much rain.
Hey, I want to talk a lot about what's getting ready to come. The numbers, we got big numbers coming this week, and the Feds, of course. But I want to talk about that. But we'll talk about that here in a moment. The one thing I want to talk about, remember, Rob, when I was talking about, when the first little power station got hit, I think it was in Virginia or somewhere up in the hills, and I said, I hope that doesn't start something. Well,
Yeah.
I know you read the news, and I was like, you know what? It's happening because the U.S. power grid now is under attack as extremists shoot and sabotage and vandalize electrical equipment at power stations all across the country now.
It's unbelievable.
It's like it was like, how all these fires started happening at these chicken plants and at these meat plants, they were having all these fires. Well, now they're attacking the power stations, the power grids. And one of the highest profile attacks were two men where they used guns to paralyze a substation in Washington State on Christmas Day, leaving thousands without electricity on Christmas Day. And the incident actually made national news, but strangely enough, remember I said, I hope this doesn't start something. Well, guess what? Another attack last week on the Las Vegas power grid went unnoticed by the national press. And this guy, Mohammed Massamarian, 34 years old, rammed his car. He took his car and he rammed it through the gate of a solar power generation plant just outside of Las Vegas this past Wednesday. And then it set the car on fire, intending to damage a massive transformer. And this was reported from Channel 8 News, so we appreciate it, Channel 8 News. And employees at this plant said they found a car smoldering in a generator pit. What a way for these terrorists to go after. I mean, think about it. You don't need to fly a plane into the Empire State Building, or you don't need to fly a plane into the Pentagon. All you got to do is attack the power stations because guess what? They're unprotected.
Right.
When you can drive a car, into a power grid station and then set the damn thing on fire. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to explode. And so employees at this plant said that they found a car smoldering in a generator pit. And now they're adding that the mega solar array facility provides power to 13 properties on the Las Vegas Strip, all belonging to the MGM Resort.
Wow. So this is right there in Boulder.
Can you imagine you're playing your slot machine, all of a sudden, ding, 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 and power goes out. Motherfucker! I just lost my jackpot. I mean, and investigators, they believe that this guy siphoned gasoline from his car to put on the wires at the transformer. And here's what they said. They said that Massamarian clarified he burned the Toyota Camry, police said, and said that he burned the vehicle at a Tesla solar plant and did it for the future. Did it for the future. And, it's crazy. Here we have, is this going to start? Is this maybe what these people coming across the border, they're going to start setting our power plants on fire?
It seems like a lot of these plants, like it's kind of weird because this was a solar plant, and then the other one was just a traditional plant. Um, these people were just
I got a
unhinged.
funny feeling.
They're unhinged, bro.
I'm just saying. I have a funny feeling that we're going to see more power plants get attacked. I just have this funny feeling.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
it's like, talk about a serial plant. Like, it becomes like a serial killer, only they're killing the plants. Crazy. Hey, Rob, there's a guy, his name is, and this came out by Greg Hunter from USA Watchdog, our friend Greg. And there's a lawyer by the name of John Titus. And he is a staunch, diehard Fed watcher. He watches every move that the Feds make. And he has some of the most popular videos on the internet explaining complicated Federal Reserve actions and policies. And Titus is, John Titus says that the Fed is now in this dangerous situation where the slightest wrong move in any direction could actually cause a financial meltdown worse than, again, 2008. Mm-hmm. And he explains this. He says, when you have a debt-based monetary system and then you take away the drugs, calls them drugs, he says you risk a withdrawal process that can become very nasty, and that is exactly what happened in 2008. And he says you then start this downward deflationary spiral, and then suddenly people start calling in their loans. And he says, oh my goodness, the collateral is not good. And we all know what happened in 2008. And that's why the Fed has got to be careful now. And he says they're between a rock and a hard place. And they don't want the money supply or the bank money supply at the retail level to rock it up. So they've got to stop that. And they have to stop that on one hand. But on the other hand, they don't want the deflationary spiral to happen. So the last thing they want in the world is the twin nightmare. In other words, you got one going on here, one going on here, twin nightmare. So you got what? Raging inflation. And by the way, no one has a job and no one has any money, and the money you do have doesn't buy anything, and the Fed is staring right at it. It's almost like I've been saying, I'm going to talk about this here in a minute. Ron Paul was talking about this. He says the purchasing power of the dollar is being destroyed. Well, I've been saying this now for a long time. The purchasing power of the dollar is being destroyed right in front of y'all's faces, and you're not even paying attention to it. So Titus contends that the Fed now has printed more money than ever before and at a much faster pace than ever before. And he warns the confetti party has a way of ending rather rudely and abruptly. And what should the common person do? Well, I know what I do, Rob.
Yeah.
Right? And Titus says, not losing is winning. Mm-hmm. Makes sense?
Yeah. 100%.
That's why I always give you this number, 800-753-8534. Not winning or not losing is winning. You don't want to lose.
No.
You don't want to lose what you put your whole life in, unless you're born with a silver spoon, you can lose everything and still keep on going.
So it's interesting. I mean, I guess for the most part, he sees high unemployment and lower prices, deflation. So I don't know. We could have deflation. Everything to me and what I've been seeing and the people that I listen to and follow, they see stagflation, right? Who knows? We could get hit with okay, so I see. So he's probably seeing the twin, right? Like two types of inflation at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So he says that.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, and I like how he says this. He says, he says, not losing is winning, and not losing is a win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where we are right now. So yeah, you're right. And he says, if you put your money on gold last year, you may have lost 5% or gained 5%. It really was not that much, but it was a big win compared to the S&P 500 in bonds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he's right. He says, I mean, you crushed them, right? And you just don't know. With the Fed raising interest rates, there is a deflation on one hand. I don't know. I just knocked us all into black, Rob. He says there's deflation in one hand, but in the grocery store, everybody is seeing inflation.
Yeah.
Deflation on one hand, inflation on the other hand.
Yeah.
So those two forces together, they spell trouble ahead. And I don't know how this story ends. And he says, I'm not sure I want to know, but we are going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like getting to the end of the chapter of the last chapter of the book, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with that McCarthy story. We don't know where it's going to end. You had Matt Gaetz holding out, almost got in a fist fight with one of the guys.
Yeah.
It was like crazy.
They ended up grabbing him by his face and neck and pulling him out.
We don't know. We don't know where this whole thing is going to end up. And supposedly they're supposed to start today, doing something today.
They're going after the IRS agents, right?
87,000 IRS agents. They're going after the Biden family. They're going Joe and Jim Biden and Hunter Biden, and they're going after.
I'll be honest with you, Alan. They're not going after Biden. Biden's going to walk away clean, just like Senator Friedman.
Of course he is.
But I do want them to go after those 87 IRS agents. It's fucking unheard of to have such a strict, eagle watch eye over the public, and then if you're in Congress, like, you're clean. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
And remember this, Rob. If you have Zelle, PayPal, any of these third-party platforms,
yeah,
and you pay anybody over $600 on that platform,
yeah,
guess what? You're going to be taxed on those dollars.
Yeah, I use it all the time. Like, it's ridiculous.
I won't use it. I got people saying, "Send me money on PayPal. Send me money on Zelle." I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You either take a check, or you just don't get no money.
Yeah.
I'm not wiring nothing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I will wire bank to bank inside the bank.
Yeah.
But not Zelle or any of those things,
yeah,
because they're all recorded.
He should definitely go after these IRS agents. There's no point in having 87,000 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So he says, but we are going to find out when this, what's going to end up happening at the end. And he says, anything you can and hold as much as you can outside the banking system, get. Get anything that you can and hold outside of the banking system, get it.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. And he's right. We've been saying this for a long time. That's why gold, silver, any type of precious metals or anything that you can hold, like he says, like a tree.
Yeah.
Remember I talk about hugging the tree? Anything that you can hold, as much as you can, get it. Because that's what you're going to fall back onto later on. I don't mean a tree, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, real estate.
Yeah.
You just hold on to it. And Titus says he likes tangible assets. Imagine that.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Titus. We all know that. But he likes tangible assets such as, guess what? Physical gold, silver, art, paid for land. Yeah, you don't want to be making mortgages on land.
Yeah.
Not nowadays. And what have I always said? Vehicles. Paid for vehicles, right? Because think about it. You can always exchange it later on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about vehicles.
Watches. You can do watches.
Yeah, watches, but
paid for businesses.
Businesses.
And cash.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the right track.
To name a few more.
Yeah, he's on the right track.
So he says Titus says to leave your money in a bank You are leading with your chin in a dangerous time. That's a good one.
Yeah, this weekend I took everything out of the bank. I just left like 2 months worth of like,
A lot of people are. All our clients are calling up. Hey, how much money should I leave in the bank? And I'm like, make sure you leave enough money to pay your bills and do whatever it is, but always have some cash on the side.
I took it all out,
But
everything. I cleaned out all 4 of my accounts.
But just remember that the cash on the side is depleting as well.
Well, I didn't put it in cash.
Yeah.
No, it's not in cash. Yeah.
So listen to what he says. He's predicting that the Fed will be forced to stop raising interest rates and start cutting them early in the third quarter of 2023. And by the end of the year, we will see Q&E money printing going on again. He sounds like he's telling the truth.
I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out, though. I mean, everybody's saying that. He's hopping on the bandwagon. Come on, like, what he's saying right now, he has great points, but like, he doesn't have a crystal ball. Nobody knows what
Nobody does.
Nobody knows what the Fed's going to do, but it seems like the sentiment is leaning towards there being a pivot mid-2023. Everybody who is interested and preaches physical gold bullion and silver bullion and tangible assets, they're all saying the same thing. He's not unique. What's unique about this write-up is that he sees two forms of inflation hitting us at once: deflation, maybe stagflation, or maybe hyperinflation all together. The twins, right? That's what I find really interesting, because
I've never heard of it called the twins.
Yeah.
I like that, though. I'm going to use that with my clients. I'm going to say, listen, have you heard of the twins? I'm not talking about the Winklevoss.
Think about it. Your money's being eroded because of hyperinflation, but now you're facing the cost of goods rising. Now you're facing high unemployment. Now you're facing stagflation. Or you're facing deflation, right? So it's like, if you get hit with two types of inflation at once, you're pretty much just you're done. You're
Well, this is exactly no. So let's talk about that for a minute. So he says the worst things get the most dangerous. He says the worst things get the most dangerous. It will be for we the people. That sounds like a serial killer. That sounds like we're looking at a lot of danger ahead.
Yeah, he took your line from me. We the people.
I think so. We the people.
You always say that.
And he also explains that the people that have the power to create money out of thin air are not going to give up that power willingly.
Yeah.
They ain't going to give it up.
You think that people are going to have a backbone?
Well, I mean,
I don't think so.
I'll tell you what. They're predicting civil war and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. This is getting interesting.
I could see that happening.
Right?
I could see civil war happening, but that doesn't show you have a backbone. That means you have a disgrace for the other side.
Well,
it just shows that you're a fucking sheep and you're glued to the TV or you're glued to Facebook or whatever you're glued to, and your brain's being destroyed and eroded because of all the garbage you feed it. Because if you really looked at it from outside looking in, you can see it's clear as day that, there is no Republican Party, there's no Democratic Party. It's one socialist party looking to go ahead and line their pockets and, get everybody vaccinated, take more control away from the people, right, and put people against each other to bicker and fight. If you're bleeding blue or if you're bleeding red, Republican versus Democrat, it's a fucking shit show.
yeah.
Nobody has a fucking goddamn backbone nowadays to realize that, to stand up saying, hey, and the ones that are, they're getting put into prison. They're getting murdered, assassinated. The ones speaking up, talking the real stuff. Civil war definitely could happen. This is what the ones at top, the unorganic beings, want. They want people to start mass murdering each other because you're a Republican, you're a conservative, you're an independent.
Yeah, let's
right?
put
You're
everybody in a bullpen and let them all fight it out.
Yeah.
But let's put the pit bull and the German shepherds all together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I got clients on a day-to-day basis. When I have these conversations with them, although their mind's in the right place about getting their house in order with precious metals, but like outside of that sometimes, not every client, maybe like out of like 100 clients, maybe 3 of them are
Yeah.
like this. So a very small percentage, right? They're like they're really hypnotized to the left versus right scenario.
So let's talk about what he says here. He says they're going to do whatever it takes to retain that power. And he says, I'm telling you, they are in a situation where they have runaway debt.
Yep.
And they have to find a way to bring down liabilities. So let's talk about that for a minute, Rob. I've been saying many governments, including the United States, remember, this isn't just the United States we're talking about. We're talking about the globe, the world. But many governments, including the United States, go so far as to create inflation. And the reason that they create this inflation is it's a way for them to depreciate the debt, and they destroy the value of our dollar, and they do it through a process, you just mentioned it a bit ago, called hyperinflation. So what they're going to have to do is they're going to be in a situation where they have runaway debt, and they're going to have to find a way to bring down liabilities, whether that is the way that is saw into your bank account through bail-ins, we talked about that, or whether it is to call people, especially people who are sick and drawing a lot of money out of the system. Think about this. So the system is openly criminal, he says. These are some strong words coming from this lawyer. And he says there is no nice, polite boundary with criminals anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
No, they'll steal anything they can find. I mean, that's obvious. Look at Bankman Fraud. He stole.
Remember that?
He's a criminal.
Yeah, remember that nonprofit that was like stealing money from people?
Talking about Black Lives Matter?
Well, that as well. I mean, that's
they totally stole money.
That's a political bull. That's like,
and they only, if you notice, you don't even hear about BLM anymore.
You know,
all you hear, you only heard about that when all that PPP money was being stolen.
That's
and
what
all
it was.
that.
It was the PPP.
Oh
that
my
nonprofit
God.
who stole. I think what they
that's
stole like
where
$150 million.
I'm telling you, that McCarthy. That's where you need to go after all that money that our taxes put in there for that PPP stolen.
$150 million stolen from PPP.
More than that.
Well, that one nonprofit we spoke about.
One person would get $1 million.
Well, we spoke about a nonprofit who stole $150 million.
Oh yeah, just one nonprofit.
Yeah.
No, they need to go after those people that stole all that money because, oh my God.
It's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous, bro.
Crazy. And so he goes on and he says the system is openly criminal and there is no polite boundary with criminals anywhere. And he says they don't draw a line and say we're willing to defraud people, but we would never kill somebody. Crime is crime, and these people are going to, he sounds like a criminal. And he says crime is crime, and these people are going to do whatever they have to do to retain their power. Yeah. And if that means people will have to be called because they are drawing too much from Medicaid, then so be it. And this is a completely logical conclusion. I heard that Medicaid is running out of money.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
As well as, what is that, SSI?
SSI,
like
yeah.
Yeah.
We've been hearing that for years. I don't think Social Security will be around when I turn 65.
I don't know.
And that's just a few years down the road.
Well, I mean, quickly. I mean, not to go off topic, but I've been watching videos or seeing like little clips on online of countries already using UBI, Universal Basic Income, already using it. So what's going to happen if we go through a recession and now, you have people who are unable, incapable of actually providing themselves a good living or even surviving? Well, these bail-ins are looking a lot more realistic nowadays to provide people with universal basic income. Like, oh, you have too much money in savings. You're giving it to John, Jim.
But that's what he's talking about here.
Yeah.
He's literally talking about they don't draw a line and see where we're willing to defraud people, but we would never kill somebody. Crime is crime, and these people are going to do whatever they have to do to retain their power. And if that means people will have to be culled, because they are drawing too much from Medicaid, then so be it. In other words, take them back.
Well, yeah. That's probably what made me think of like this UBI commercial.
Yeah, he's talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he says this is completely a logical conclusion that a psychopath would draw, and that is what we are dealing with here.
Mm-hmm.
He said this is now all on the table.
Yeah. I mean, anything's possible, bro. Anything's possible. You know, you have the FDIC talk about internal bank bail-ins, you know, November of 2022, like openly talking about the general public should not be aware that we have the authority to actually conduct a bail-in.
Yeah.
And they should not be aware of this. Like now we're talking about something totally different. They're in preparation to pull the kill switch on your bank account or your retirement account. You know, like we're starting to see these individuals have much more confidence and much more neglect for the general public on their socialist policies. I mean, what's next, right? So, I mean, the year of 2023, you've been saying it. It's going to be a really interesting one. And this guy's really, like, he's done a little bit of confirmation, a little bit of validation on what we've been speaking about.
Yeah. You know, and then Ron Paul comes out, and, you know, there was a really good article.
Yeah.
And Ron Paul has been doing a lot of talking lately.
Right.
A lot of talking. And Ron Paul says this may come as a surprise considering how often we've been hearing about the strength of the U.S. dollar on the U.S. on mainstream media reports.
Yeah.
And that, he says, the mighty dollar has been blamed for so many, all sorts of trouble. And recently, for example, he says, and this is what Janet Yellen said, quote, our policies do have spillovers, and of course, many countries are concerned with the spillovers from the U.S. policy on their exchange rates with the dollar being so strong. And Janet Yellen stated that at the G20 summit in Bali on November of this last year. And the Associated Press said, bad situation. Soaring U.S. dollar spreads pain worldwide. The dollar is up 18% this year, and last month hit at a 20-year high. And the Wall Street Journal came back and said on November the 7th, the strong dollar continues to take a toll on earnings. So think about this for a minute. Today's question is, how can the U.S. dollar be so strong as to cause all this ruckus? And the answer is, it's a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
And this is how Ron Paul explains it. He says the dollar is strong, but only in comparison. A strong currency is one that can buy more goods and services than other currencies. He says that's not the case with the U.S. dollar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think where do you think he's going?
You know,
gold. Well, he says take the euro, for instance. He says, for example,
trash.
Adjusted for inflation, the euro has lost about 35% of its purchasing power since its introduction in 1999.
That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah. The yen
garbage
is down 23% against the dollar this year alone. Now he says, take a look at three other major global currencies compared to the U.S. dollar, and it's plain as day. They're all not doing well. And he says, as we've seen, the U.S. dollar has lost the vast majority of its purchasing power. What did I say? The purchasing power of the dollar is being destroyed right in front of your faces, and you're not even paying attention to it. Yeah, I'm talking to you.
And dollar's down almost 90% since inception.
Since the Federal Reserve was established in back, 1913?
You know, it's like since coming off the gold standard, the dollar is.
That's exactly right. You know where I'm going.
It's just, I mean, it's not like 90% or 90% plus. I mean, it's a fucking. I mean, the only reason why we haven't been completely decimated is because we're still using the dollar to settle payments globally, right?
And what are we doing? Printing money.
Yeah, it's the most used currency globally. But you see how, i.e., the BRIC nations already setting up their currency basket outside of the
Their
US
payment
dollar.
system to move the currency.
The
Yeah.
digital ruble, digital yuan.
Petrodollar is going bye-bye.
Completely
I
done.
heard that China now is buying oil from Saudi Arabia dirt cheap.
Yep.
I heard that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So they've got a plan.
Yeah, they're preparing for this.
Oh yeah.
And it's
I'll tell you. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't. I mean.
So let me ask you. So it's obvious that the U.S. dollar is strong in comparison to other currencies, but only because their purchasing power is falling faster than the United States dollars. Well, it's expected. We're a bigger country than these countries.
Well, yeah, we produce a lot. I mean, just California alone, it probably accumulates for what, 62% of the GDP here in the U.S. Come on now.
Well, there's no prize for being first to the bottom, I've always said.
Yeah.
Think about that. There's no prize for being first to the bottom.
Yeah.
And the central banks, this is what's really happening, Rob.
I'm listening.
This is coming from Ron Paul, and I back him on this 100%.
Mm-hmm.
He says what's really happening is that the central banks of the world are engaged in a race to the bottom. That's why I said there's no prize for being first to the bottom. And I've been saying this for a long time. And he says they're all printing money at an unprecedented rate, and the effects are being felt everywhere. And it's not a coincidence that the worldwide inflation rate is near double digits, as Bloomberg recently reported 8.8% globally, according to the IMF, ranging from 2% to 210%. And money printing destroys the purchasing power of all the currencies involved, including the U.S. dollar. So I go back to it again. Governments create inflation. The reason they create inflation, it's a way for them to destroy the dollar and depreciate the debt, and they do it by hyperinflation. And the only way to restore the purchasing power of the United States dollar is to do what? Stop printing. Stop money printing.
But you can't do that. The debt.
Well, you like that couch, huh?
Oh, I love it. The debt-based monetary system that we're in right now, I mean, it's not a real scenario that we stop printing, right? Or we stop,
What about stop the Federal Reserve?
Yeah.
This is what let me tell you what Paul says.
Uh-huh.
Paul says the only way to do that is to end the Federal Reserve and return to a monetary system that's based on what? Sound money. And when you hear talk of a strong U.S. dollar, do not be fooled.
Uh-huh.
He said the U.S. dollar is only strong in comparison to other rapidly depreciating currencies. And the only way to restore global financial sanity is to return to a system of sound money, such as the gold standard.
Yeah.
And he said, we must do this before the central banks of the world print every currency in existence into total collapse. And look, he says, we're much, much closer to a total collapse than we are to stability. And he says, and if all your savings are tied up in U.S. dollars, I strongly recommend examining the benefits of diversification, because the slowest loser is still a loser.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's got a great point. I mean, not a realistic point, but he has a great point. You got to think about
what do you mean by not realistic?
Okay, so yeah, we're back on sound money. We're on a gold standard. How do you finance a war? You can't. Too expensive. How do you?
Well, that would be great then to have a gold standard.
How do you launder billions of dollars to Ukraine or your foreign allies? You can't, right? Too expensive, right? How do you actually negotiate deals with other countries? You can't. It's too expensive, right? So how do you manipulate the currency, right? How do you use money printing to inflate financial assets like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, cryptocurrencies, real estate, etc. You can't with gold, right? Virtually impossible, right? You won't have these debt bubbles or these, financial contagions anymore. And I don't think that's what the Federal Reserve or people in Wall Street or people globally actually want, right? So I like where his head's at and where he's going with it, but I don't see us going back on a gold standard. You know, I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. But he has a great point.
Well, there's a bill out there. There is a bill
From the representative from West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I tell you, Rob, this is why it's so important to start, if you haven't already, get your house in order. I can't say it enough. Get your house in order. Get yourself prepared because we've got a rocky 2023 right in front of us. You've got the purchasing power of the dollar being destroyed. You've got inflation continuing going up. We've got the numbers coming in this week. What are all these numbers coming in? We got CPI. We got the core index. We got
core index. Unemployment.
You think they'll fudge the numbers?
I mean, who knows?
It really doesn't matter whether you're in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Because bottom line is it's just paper.
At this point, I mean, these numbers are so irrelevant, right? Like the jobless claims and the core index or the CPI numbers. It's all just a complete, disguise for what's really happening. It's basically, if you're relying on these numbers to dictate how your 2023 is going to be or how you're going to invest, you've already lost, right? You're already done. Your main focus, your priority should just pick up as much physical assets as you can, such as silver and gold, right? Get your house in order so that you can exchange it for more value later on. Because let's not forget, we still have Executive Order 14067 out there, and the test pilot that's finishing up. Fed Now, the application for CBDC, is coming out.
Fed Now, that's the same program that they did in Brazil.
Yeah.
And they
hey, listen.
Look at Brazil right now. Freaking heck, man!
Yeah.
It was like an insurrection over in the capital of Brazil.
I saw that.
Oh my God, 1,500, from what I understand, have been arrested and people have died.
Yeah.
Bigger than the one they did in the capital in the United States.
Yeah.
It's crazy what's going on in Brazil.
I mean, the reality is this: is that you're losing your privacy. The World Economic Forum agenda is being pushed on you Americans, and you guys are just relying on bullshit ass numbers to dictate how your future is going to be. You're going to wake up, realize that, hey, you're going to have to use a social credit score system just to get a cup of Starbucks. You're not going to be able to travel without a COVID vaccine passport. You're not going to be able to walk a mile down the road without having these world economic, pussies come up to you and question you on where you're going.
You got such nasty mouth.
Let me see your QR code, right? Like, this is where this is headed.
True.
Like, everything else, it's all fake news. Get your fucking house together. Get yourself some gold and silver, right? Get some real estate. Get yourself some, high quality Rolex, AP watches that actually have actual intrinsic.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm a collector of watches.
You have a bunch of beautiful
watches. I have a lot of watches. But let me share. That's something but actually, because they're making so many now, that the price of, it's gone down. But the thing is you can always, and I don't care what anybody says, you can always exchange these later on for whatever it is that you want to exchange it for.
The bottom line is that the World Economic Forum agenda is being pushed right in front of your face, and you're deciding to ignore that. The currency is being destroyed right in front of your face, and you're choosing to ignore it. Or maybe you're watching it, and you're just shelled up because you don't know how to make a financial decision because you don't have the confidence to. That's why it's very important to give us a call, because we're the experts, and we'll tell you what to do.
That's right. No, it's so true. And, I just want to, Rob, I want to share something that Richard Mills came out and talked about. And this is that gold and silver now are looking to finish higher at the close of 2023's first week of trading.
Richard Mille said that?
As the U.S. dollar declined this past Friday.
Wow.
And at a time of that writing, gold was up $35 an ounce to $18.69 an ounce.
Yeah.
With silver gaining 66 cents an ounce, just shy of $24 an ounce. And the U.S. dollar index sunk to 103.89, which is a low point that has not been crossed since the end of June, from a one-year high of 114.10 on September the 27th, and DXY has fallen nearly 10%. So it's interesting that while gold was down for most of last year due to a series of consecutive interest rate increases, higher government bond yields and a climbing U.S. dollar, the precious metal had by December 31st won back most of its losses. Look how fast it won back, right? So the same for silver. If you noticed, it was the same. That's why I've always said gold is the brother, silver is the sister. Don't worry about it. Get both of them. Diversify into both of them. And silver really a lot, because here's why. You can buy so much more silver with the dirty fiat currency, because all that is debt. And this is what I'm telling people. I say, look, you take debt and you take it and you invest it in real money.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Go ahead. You want to say something?
No. I was going to say you're 100%. You're right on, spot on. This is the issue, right? Is that as you start to wait and sit and watch these prices move, or even if the prices pull back, there's one key thing that's happening right now that a lot of people who are new to investing in physical gold, or maybe they have experience, right, are still trying to wrap their head around, is that price of silver pulls back. We're at spot 25 today, 24.78 last.
We're at 18.75 on gold already.
We pulled back because we were just at an hour ago. We were just at 18.96.
We're at 18.75 right now.
So this is a great example. We had a small pullback from almost 1900. I'm gonna tell you something. Premiums on the gold American Eagle are out of this world. You're probably looking at a 40% premium right now, maybe a 30% premium. Look at physical silver, for example. When we made a pullback to $18, $19 a couple months back before going up to 24 recently, you were still paying 100 to 125% premium, 100 to 125% premium on the silver eagles. Now, as spot price starts to increase, we're seeing the premiums start to just take off. So that's the issue, right? Is that as you sit and as you don't participate, as you're not participating, rather, the price of silver is going to be out of your reach. And that's the issue, is that gold might be out of your reach. Silver might be out of your reach eventually because of the premiums become so drastic. And this is what the Federal Reserve has been doing in preparation for, is they've been stockpiling physical gold.
Oh, yeah. So not just the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
All the global banks.
Yeah.
And this is why, gold started the year at around, 1,828 an ounce.
Yeah.
And it finished just above 1822. Now, remember, we're up from Friday. And silver opened in 2022 at 23.28, and it ended nearly 3% higher at 23.93. So we here at United Gold Group, we think that 2023, according to what we hear from all the other sources, is going to be an excellent year for gold. And we have, 4 gold plays for junior resource. We have all kind of programs available for you that you can get yourself into precious metals without breaking the bank. In other words, without deleting everything that you've got. So we can work with you with the IRAs, with 401ks, employer plans, so many different ways for you to actually get yourself protected and get your house in order. And you do it, first of all, by reaching out to us either at UnitedGoldGroup.com, UnitedAssetGroup.com. That's another one of our entities. You can also give us a call at our call center at 800-753-8534 or 380-5485, or you can even call Rob direct if he's on his if he's not on his phone, you'll get a hold of him. But if you don't, he'll call you back. He has a voicemail in there.
Yeah.
He can give you a call back. You want to punch your number in?
Yeah, it's 213-466-1283.
So listen, I'm gonna let you go. Romeo says he can't even see you anymore. The camera's too high.